In this video, I'm going to show you 4 uncommon exercises to help you with your posture. Not only will we break down each one of these exercises by themselves, I'll tell you how to get the absolute most out of these exercises, but I'll explain exactly why they're helping your posture, how they're helping your posture, just so you'll understand not only the exercises, you'll understand posture. Hopefully you understand your body even better after all of this. But before we get into that, welcome to the Anatomy of Therapy. I'm Dr. John Cybulski, where we are breaking down uncommon exercises for postural correction today. I think the only time to work on posture, honestly, is going to be in the gym. I don't like to think about it elsewhere. I think if I'm giving my patients things for posture, it probably needs to be a little bit more disruptive than you think it is. Chin tucks are great, pulling your shoulders down and back, fantastic stuff. But sometimes you need to address it in a little bit different way. Today I've got 4 ways I'm going to show you. This is the first one, but before we get into that, hit the like button, smash the subscribe thing, leave a comment, help people find the channel. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. Okay, first one, not that guy. Let's get into this one. It's a lat pullover basically. But the trick is we're going long ways on the bench, and we're going to put our thoracic rib cage right here, which is kind of in line with the sternum, so that we can get really good thoracic extension. We're going to get indirect thoracic extension. Obviously, you see the curling back here. This is not the peeling forward that often happens with posture, right? But we're getting it indirectly, as obviously you're going to feel most of the strain through your lats, the posterior shoulder, perhaps the triceps on this one. Great exercise for that. But what about if we used it for posture, right? I mean, the next trick with this is that as he lets the weight go down this way, let's make that red, we're also pushing down the hips this way. This is maximizing the thoracic extension in the back so that we can really undo our poor posture. The main concept as a doctor, if I'm talking to patients about this, is thoracic extension. You need thoracic extension to help undo your posture, because we get stuck in thoracic flexion. We need thoracic extension. This is indirect, passive thoracic extension, active shoulder flexion overhead, right? Keeping these all in line is a lot. Do a bunch of these reps. He's got a 25. You guys always ask about sets and reps in the comments below. Leave more comments, hit the like button. But with this one, you're going to want to get a lower weight and do a bunch of reps, because with posture is a time thing. Posture is ruined by a sedentary kind of lifestyle. Sit here and watch more of these videos for sure. But that is part of what is deteriorating our posture, is the sedentariness. So exercising in itself is going to already help you undo some of that posture. But if we also can consciously think about undoing the flexion, extension problems that we have and get stuck in our posture in our day-to-day job, we go to the gym, we undo it all, we get some blood pumping. That's where I'm aiming for today. Okay, let's go to the next phase of this. So this is going to be active hip flexion. You'll see his legs are kind of bent up here at 90 degrees. Let's back up. So what we do, Ben grabs onto something up here. Oh, this is knees over the toes guy, if I haven't introduced him. Ben Patrick, super YouTube famous. Go check him out, knees over toes guy. Everybody loves him. Great stuff. Highly recommend some of his programs. But anyways, hip flexion here. So he's holding onto something up overhead. He's going to grab the weight here with his feet. This is the thumbnail you were all looking forward to. And then he actively pulls this up. How is this helping with our posture, John? Great question. So glad you asked. Again, it's active versus passive. So right now I am sitting in passive hip flexion, right? My hips are at this 90-degree angle that his are at, right? But they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there, decompressed, right? So what we're doing is actively compressing not only our anterior tips, because we're gonna have to keep this up, we're compressing our quads, we're getting our hip flexors in the front. Obviously you can see we're getting abs, obliques. He's obviously working serratus and lats because he's pulling from something up top. So we're getting a lot of anterior compression actively with this exercise. So we're going to get passive decompression of kind of the backside. Okay, so it is going to put us in a familiar position, except it's going to give our body some work. Okay, so we need to make these positions familiar. We need to make these positions strong. If you're gonna sit, be strong at sitting. It's a weird recommendation from a doctor, I know, but you can train sitting, train hip flexion. It will help you in the long run, because what happens is these abs don't get involved. And when these abs don't get involved, the back gets tight because there's no decompression. You're not breathing through your back. We're gonna need to make a whole podcast on that one. I'm not gonna unpack that statement right now. Leave a comment below. Maybe I'll talk about it. But you need to breathe through your back, and air cannot go through your back if you do not have some anterior compression in the front. And Ben certainly has that in spades, in coughing too much. Let's get to the next one. Okay, so anterior compression, hip flexion. Again, you're gonna need to do a bunch of these exercises. With this one, 12 to 15 reps at minimum. Let's get to the next one. This is the GHG Glute Ham Raise machine, I think it's called. GH1 Rogue has one, but it's a little bit more perpendicular than this one. Anyways, what you're gonna do is he puts his foot back here. He's got one foot up, so he's really isolating the hamstring and the glute. And what's happening is you slowly, here we go, lower himself down into flexion, right? So let's do a couple other little small analysis. The blocking point is in the anterior hip. Typically, if you're sitting, it's in the back. So we reverse that. Again, we're trying to undo sitting. We're trying to undo posture here actively. And so we're compressing the anterior hip. We're asking the posterior hip to start working now, okay? Then what is most notable here, I think we'll all see, is the spine flexing here, right? And in a second, so he was slowly letting the spine, let's start it over again, slowly letting the spine kind of go down here, curling all the way up, and then from that position, actively extending. So he's getting active hip extension via the lumbar spine and the thoracic spine. So we're getting the same thoracic extension we talked about in this exercise, right? But now we're getting, instead of passively, we've developed to a more active extension in the thoracic spine. He's also doing hip extension in this position. I see that the legs are kind of up there, obviously, but as you let the hips go down, you don't keep the spine straight like a traditional lat pullover. In this exercise, we are slowly strengthening directly flexion, and then we're flipping it and immediately going into extension. So you go all the way down into flexion. And right now, what is the point of support? It's going to be your hamstrings. It's going to be your glutes, which when you're seated and the support is on the bottom side, start to become what they say dormant. They say inactive. I know there's a lot of hubbub around the word inactive, but they sit there and they basically don't do work. So what we're having them do is when we go to the gym to undo all our postural problems are to flip the point of support, flip the leverage. Again, need to make another video on leverage. Note to self, someone leave a comment and remind me. And we're getting active hip extension via the spine. So this is going to start strengthening up the spine. One of the main problems with posture is that when you go down into this flexed position, let's get all the way down there. There he goes. When he gets all the way into this flexed position, like when you are seated, what happens is your joints just start to rest on top of each other, okay? And that's not what we want. We want some muscles, we want some pressure. So the pressure is all either one way or the other. Except when we get to this fun little exercise, let's go back to this guy so we can see everything. We're doing it actively than passively. We're reciprocating flexion, then we're reciprocating extension. So we're turning the muscles off in the front on, we're turning the muscles in the back off. So we're actively lengthening. I'm trying to reach for the thing like you can see. I'm actively lengthening this side, actively shortening this side. Then we reverse it. So we begin to actively shorten this side, actively lengthen the anterior side. This is ideal to undo your posture. Now, again, down to my absolute favorite exercise for posture. Is going to be a good morning with a staggered stance. I've gone over this exercise before on the channel. We analyze and break down a lot of videos. If you like this video, go check the channel. There's all sorts of good stuff. There might be a playlist up here for you to see as well. But with this exercise, we're getting all the things I was talking about. We're getting them actively. Okay, so we are flexing actively and extending actively. We're getting back into this hip. We are supported on our own feet. flexing, bowing, saying good morning to the sun like the yogis. That's what this exercise is about. But with this one, we're adding weight to the back, and so we're getting strong back. What happens when we sit with posture is that our body goes to the most efficient way possible to sit. That's all your body wants to do, is just to be efficient, the lowest level of efficiency, honestly. So what happens is when we sit, our body is just like, okay, let's just chill. Let's lean back against the chair. Let's rest on our own joints. Let's just allow ourselves to kind of compress down and not actively hold ourselves up anterior, posterior, left and right? We're not using our hips to hold our spine up. We're not using our spine to hold our spine up. First and foremost, we need to make sure that we're using our hips. So we're hinging back into our hips with this one. So you're going to feel a bunch of hamstring. You're going to feel a bunch of glute as well on this. Then, because we have a weight up on our shoulders and we're keeping a nice straight torso, we're going to get a lot of work in the low back. Okay? So we're actively hinging back through the hips, but with this weight on our back, we're putting a lot of strain in a controlled way. It's actually not that much weight on your shoulders. We're putting stress into that back. We're actively compressing it. We're getting blood flow into it so that we can undo all of the sitting. We're gonna make our back strong. We're gonna make our hips strong. We're gonna let our muscles work, and I'm losing it clearly already. I need to stop. Compress one side, decompress the other. If you haven't hit the like button, hit it already. Leave a comment below. We've got all sorts of other videos. Check these two that are coming up. Y'all have a great day. Peace.